My name is Stephen Grady, and I'm Chief of Staff for your Detroit City Council President, Brenda Jones. And we're here today for the Resource and Empowerment Fair for those who want to do business with the city. We've got a lot of great vendors here that are going to explain things to you, and we've got just a great environment for the next couple of hours for folks who want to get involved with doing business with the city. So just a couple of housekeeping things. I think everyone has probably found that the facilities are just outside the door there. There's a room over here adjacent to us where all of our vendors will be. As we have each one of the sessions, the learning sessions, they're going to go through a presentation, and then there will be a question and answer period. What we're asking is, because we have our media services team here, and let's please give our media services team a round of applause. Thank you. So what we're going to do is, because media services is here, you see I've got the microphone here. There's another microphone in the center here. So if you have a question or a comment, please go to the microphone, because this session is being recorded so that it can be played on Channel 10 at a later time, so those who are not here can participate in some of the experience that they would have received if they had been here. But for those of you who are here, you are in the winner's seat, because you're able to make that eye-to-eye contact with all of the folks that are here as a resource for you. Yes, sir. Now look, he's doing the first demonstration. There you go. Got a question.
What all will a person gain by coming to this event tonight?
So his question was, what will a person gain by coming to this event tonight? So that question is going to be answered in the next very few moments, because we have both of our at-large council members here, Council President Brenda Jones and our at-large member, Janeé Ayers. Can we give them a round of applause, please? Thank you. And this is very important, because you all, when you vote in the city for council members, you vote for a district council member, but then you also vote for 2 at-large members. The at-large members are responsible for the entire city, where your district member is just responsible for your district. So these folks here are responsible for the entire city. Get to know them as you're here. Talk to them, give them your ideas, ask them questions. That's what they're here for. So without further ado, your question is going to get answered. Without further ado, I would like to turn it over to our Council President, Brenda Jones.
Thank you, and good afternoon, evening to everyone. And I would just want to, first of all, thank you all for being here. Thank all that are participating. Thank our vendors. Again, I am Council President Brenda Jones, and it is always an honor to come to the Resource Center, where so much is going on right here in the community, right in the city of Detroit. I want to thank my Chief of Staff, Stephen Grady, for kicking it off. And I want to thank again the media services who worked all day and then come to make sure that we are televised, so that the people that cannot be here can see exactly what is going on this evening. Thank you for allowing us again to be in the Resource Center, and thank you again for coming out to our, and I don't know if this is our fourth Small Business Empowerment Fair. And what we have been doing is trying to go across the city doing these Small Business Empowerment Fairs to ensure that everyone who's interested in starting a business can get all the information and talk to all of the people that they need to talk to. I'm going to turn the mic over to my colleague, my at-large colleague, Councilmember Ayers, who is going to give you some more good, pertinent information, and you will hear from me later on.
All right, so I just kind of want to get to your question. So why are you here? What do you get out of this? The reason that Council President and I thought that it was so important that we start these small business fairs is because most times people don't know how to navigate through the city process. It gets frustrating. You don't know who to talk to. You call, you get put on hold. So this is bringing those resources to you so that you don't have to try to navigate and figure out, okay, did I talk to the right person? Am I going in the right direction? So that is what you'll gain out of this, as well as we have 3 little subsects here, and I'll be introducing the next one in just a moment, but I'll give you some background on that at that time. But the reason that this is important is because we don't want you to have to come down to KMAC so you can pay to park and then get the rigmarole running through the building. We want to bring it to you, just making it easier, because the one thing that we want to see is people from the community, people that look like us, people actually getting an opportunity, because that's the hard part. It's not that we don't have good ideas. It's not that we don't have hard-working folks in the city, but they don't have the access to the opportunity and the information. And so that's what we're doing. We want to bring it to you here. But I also have the pleasure of introducing a lifelong friend who is the person that runs this wonderful facility. So Mr. Justin Kempson, would you come on over?
Thank you, Councilwoman. It is truly an honor to have Detroit City Council President Brenda Jones and Detroit City Councilwoman Janeé Ayers here at the Ford Resource Engagement Center. The Ford Resource Engagement Center is the second in the city. The first one is at 2826 Bagley, which is in the Mercado in Southwest Detroit, just adjacent to the Ambassador Bridge. And both of the centers are community-based centers focused on creating social mobility. So we fund a variety of different nonprofits to provide services to the community. So any given day, you can walk into either one of our facilities and receive services. So anything from free legal counseling, job assistance through our career coaches, free food from our food distributions in partnership with Gleaners Community Food Bank. Tax season just wrapped up on April 15th, which was Monday, but we provide tax assistance all year round. So just because the 15th happened doesn't mean that you still can receive services if you have back taxes or old issues that you need to resolve. Outside of that, we work with after-school programs, and we open up for block clubs and community organizations as well. So for more information, you can go to our website, www.freccity.org, and then also follow us on social media on all of the platforms at Freck City. That's Freccity. And if you have any questions, feel free to stop me throughout the night. We got a lot of activities going on this evening in addition to the Small Business Fair, and we're just so happy to have 2 of the members of Detroit City Council here on the east side of Detroit. Thank you guys very much.
So just a little piece of house cleaning for you. If at any time you need to step out to speak to a vendor, you can always step out and go right across the hall from the first room that we started in and speak to that vendor. So just know that we won't think you're being rude. You're just trying to get your business handled. So let's go into our first section here, which is going to be the Bridging Neighborhoods event. And so Bridging Neighborhoods event, the purpose of the event is to inform and engage local home improvement contractors. How many of y'all know people that do local home improvement? I know y'all do. Y'all know somebody to lay some tile, to put in some pipe. You know. Okay, so we want to connect those folks to these current projects, rehab projects, and opportunities that are here within the city. So Heather, where's Heather? Oh, there you are.
Hi, I'm Heather Zygmuntovich. I'm the director for Bridging Neighborhoods. Rico, you want to come up? I'm calling you out. This is Rico Razzo. He's our deputy director. So like Janeé said, we are here today to talk about our pre-qualification process for residential rehab contractors. So right now what we do is we run a program that is $32.6 million of support to residents of the Delray area. So there's a new international bridge that is coming in. We are helping them with optional relocation services into other parts of the city. And when we go ahead and rehab those homes, we want to have really solid contractors because we want to make sure that they are in quality homes once they do swap into this new home, into a new neighborhood. So we're going to go through just briefly what the qualification process is, talk about that with you, and then take any questions you might have.
I have one of the smiles that carry. But before she begins, my other life was a union president, and I had to do a lot of hollering and screaming. We both were union people on picket lines, so we did a lot of that. So if you have any questions, or you know you're going to have a question, I'm going to ask Linda if you could raise your hand. If you just raise your hand, Linda will bring you a card, and we're going to ask that you write your question down, please. Thank you.
Just how many people in the room know where Del Rey is in the city of Detroit? So you guys are well familiar. Okay. I didn't know if I had to break it down for you.
All right, so we're going to go through this relatively quickly. I'm actually going to stand over here. So what we do is we do a pre-qualification process. What we're trying to do within that is as soon as somebody signs up and wants to swap into the program, we want to go out to bid as soon as possible, and we want the bid process to be as quick as possible. And in order to do that, we actually do a closed bid to all of the contractors that we've already approved. So what we do is actually on a rolling basis. So the city of Detroit, so I know Boise, our chief procurement officer, is here. Everything that they put out, any solicitation is on BidSync. So if you went into BidSync right now, you'd be able to search for BNP, and you could find our request for qualifications quote, and you could find all of this on BidSync. What it does is it goes through the requirements to get into our program and the information that we request in order to learn more about your company. Just so you know, it is a long list. We don't shy away from it. We are really looking for quality contractors. We want to make sure that we are turning out good homes, and that's why we're trying to do this outreach. Like Councilwoman Ayers said, it's really tough to get the word out and to talk to people, and we don't want people to feel like they don't know how to do it. And there are a lot of questions. So that's why we're going through this today, and you'll also see that we've been doing some outreach in terms of having contractors to our office. So we have two types of requirements in order to respond. Some of them are requirements that you absolutely have to have in order to be a contractor. Other ones are just giving us information about your company so we can learn more about what your company is and how we can help you once you are enrolled. So this first part are what our requirements are out the gate. You absolutely have to have these as a contractor in order to be involved in our program. You have to meet anything that is required through the procurement office in order to get a contract. So there are a series of insurance, affidavits, and clearances that the procurement office can speak to. We do require everybody is compliant with those. Next after that, we ask that you have an active builder's license in the state of Michigan. So we definitely want to make sure that we're dealing with people who understand the building code, are familiar with pulling permits, and able to pull permits with the city building and engineering department. After that, we want to make sure that these homes are safe. There's obviously a lot of information about lead in the news. There are a lot of lead in our houses because they're all built before 1978 that we're working on. So what we look for, we know that not everybody can be lead certified or OSHA 10 certified or even OSHA 40 certified. So what we look for is someone who is on site. We're looking either for your the business owner or your site superintendent. Somewhere between them, there should be two certifications that are held. Somebody who is lead supervisor certified and somebody who is OSHA 10 certified. And OSHA 10 is just a brief course to help you identify hazardous materials in a home. So we require to see that within your business structure. After that, we do require bonds. So this is actually a state law requirement. If there is any construction project that goes through a municipal entity, we are required to have a bond on file if anything is over $50,000, and our contracts are absolutely over $50,000 when we're doing renovations. So what we look for is a performance and a warranty bond up to 18 months. The reason we do 18 months is because that's what state law requires in terms of how long the warranty period can be. So we're just trying to mirror what the state is requesting. We do say a minimum of $100,000. That's generally the lowest level that you can request anyway when you're going to a surety. That is definitely something that a lot of businesses have questions about. If you do have questions about, please don't hesitate to talk to Rico or I afterward, and we can talk to you about people, just agents that they've worked with, how they have attempted to get bonding. We do require 3 years of residential rehab experience. And we ask that you comply with our program requirements. So we have a construction quality standard. We ask that you cover your security while the homes are under construction. We have a series of things that we want to make sure our contractors are doing, such as abiding with our specifications for the homes. And we just have a statement, which I'll get to on the next slide, that says all of those requirements, and we just ask that you say that you will comply with them. So this is just the affidavit. If you pulled it down, we would ask you to sign it, indicating that you understand the lead and hazardous materials that we're wanting you to know how to handle. And this is our compliance statement. So again, these are a lot of details. If you pull it into on BidSync, you'll be able to pull that down, but we wanted to show you up front what you're going to be seeing when you do go to apply. So the rest of what we ask for is just about your company. We're trying to learn more about what experience you've had, so that we, one, can look at projects that you've already done and understand where you've been working, but also making sure that there's no other concerns. Like if there's been extensive litigation with your company, we want to make sure that that's been properly resolved before you start doing work for the city of Detroit. So we do ask for you to tell us about some of your experiences, your financial returns, making sure that your tax returns have been filed or your financials have been completed for your business. We are asking for a DUNS number going forward that allows us to look up litigation. And then we actually ask you for information about your staff. And so the reason about that is we want to understand if you're employing Detroiters. That's important to us too. And we want to know that up front if that's something that you're doing. We also ask for resumes just to understand your key staff experience. And this is an example of a staff roster that we ask you to fill you out at the time of pre-qualification. So that is a very quick whirlwind explanation of what we look for. It is definitely, sure, go ahead. Absolutely. Rico, did you mind under my water bottle? You can pass them around. We'll pass around, yep, exactly, those slides right now. And so what I have here, I wasn't sure exactly who we were going to be speaking with today, so I wanted to make sure that in case there are people who are seeking employment directly with the contractors, I did want to list the contractors that have already pre-qualified, so that if you, it will be in the packet that's being passed out right now. If you want to look into whether or not they are hiring.
Can you raise your hand if you'd like one? I don't know if everybody ever wants.
Okay, awesome. And so if you are someone who is looking to get employed in the construction industry, wanted to at least call to your attention the people who are already qualified with us, this is getting updated on a regular basis. So right now we have 5 more companies that are in the process of pre-qualifying. Almost all of them are Detroit-based and are local. So we're trying to get more Detroiters in, whether it's a Detroit-based company or Detroiters getting employed with the companies we're working with. So I know Rico's passing those out. Are there any questions I can answer right now?
First of all, thanks for being here, everybody. But do you know how many of those contractors are union? Like,
they are not. So union is it's much more rare in residential.
oh,
Yeah, sure.
So, sir, you were asking about them being union companies. Is it because you'd like to be a part of a union company, or?
well, actually, I'm part of the union, Local 687, out of Ferndale. But I was saying that because I'm a carpenter apprentice, but at some point, I'm trying to start a wholesaling business myself. But I wanted to know because I'm looking for an employer right now.
Got it.
So I can continue in my program.
Okay. So, matter of fact, who is that? Jerome, can you get this young man's information? And we can follow up with you, either myself or council president, because we have some friends that are in carpentry. So.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And while I have this microphone, Mr. Grady reminded me to remind you, this is a fluid type of thing. So if this is not one of the things that you're here for, it's okay if you need to go back across the hall and talk to some vendors about something else. And so excuse me for doing a poor job of giving you what the agenda was going to be. So if in fact, Stephen, you said we want to let the vendors go back across the hall? Okay, so all the vendors, you can go back across the hall, and if in fact you need to go speak to a vendor, feel free to go across the hall. But we are going to be talking bridging neighborhoods, as we're doing now, cash readiness, and then the entire purchasing portion of it. So thank you.
How you doing? But if you're a small startup construction company, I'm saying the point of entry is kind of hard to get to. So would you be a subcontractor under them, and then you can grow up into doing your own work?
Exactly, and that's why we wanted to list these. So it's not for everybody, and I think, so just in case everybody didn't hear that, you're a smaller contractor. How long have you been in business for? When did you start?
We've been about 4 years.
4 years, okay. So we've actually had a lot of people come to us and say, you know, I just incorporated last year. And I understand that we understand that there's an opportunity for rehab going on right now. So there are a lot of companies like that. That's why we want to start sharing the information of these companies. I still would encourage you to get on BidSync, because we actually put out smaller contracts for contractors that wouldn't necessarily have these requirements. So we've put out stuff for landscaping or just for basement repairs that wouldn't necessarily require this.
But I think the biggest hurdle for like a majority of the contracts that I know is the OSHA requirements, because I can't think of a million contracts in Detroit that know what that is. I mean, I got some idea, but I can't think of a million of them that know exactly what that would require.
Right. And I know we've gone through and done price checks, because we want to make sure that it's affordable too. We don't want people going through that process. So the OSHA classes, my understanding is about $200. You can generally do them online. The lead ones, I don't know that you can do online, but also run about $150 to $200 per person.
Oh, so you can take them online?
Yeah, the OSHA one you can. I don't know about the lead.
So, but you got one or the other? You got to have both.
You got to have both on your company.
Okay.
Yep. But yeah, absolutely. That's why we want to start doing that. And just so you know, I'm guessing you're on the city's email exchange?
I am now.
Okay, great. So we just started having a construction conference, and so this is exactly what we've been hearing, which is some people are saying, I check off 5 of the qualifications, but I'm missing 2. How do I get connected with other contractors? And that's actually a really tough thing for us, because we can't force anybody to partner, but we at least want to start holding events where people can have the opportunity to network and hopefully make that partnership. So we just held our first construction conference last month, and we actually had like a networking portion where we invited subs to meet some of the contractors like these, like the ones that have tons of contracts on demolition, on some of the capital projects, to just start making those connections. And so that's something that we're trying to figure out, a better way to connect contractors going forward too. So as long as you're on that city email exchange, I'm sure we'll be doing that construction conference next year too.
Thanks, brother. I like your shirt, man. So I'm actually here for the opposite reason as probably most people in this room. I need contractors. So we buy houses in Detroit and we rehab them. And our biggest issue is finding reliable contractors. For example, just 2 weeks ago, we had 3 separate contractors say they were going to show up at one of our jobs, and 3 separate contractors just never showed on us. So my question is, does BidSync have, we would trust the city of Detroit to know reputable contractors. Is there an actual database that I can access where I can get put in contact with folks like yourself that actually need work, because we need y'all to do the work?
Right. I think, sorry. Yeah, so I think, Boise, do you want to speak on that? Come on.
How you doing?
Hey.
They telling me I need to come up to speak. Right. Yeah. Yes. So BidSync does have within the module, excuse me, a little coffee here, but it has within the module a list of contractors that are interested, and it's by NIGP code. So it's a national industry group of procurement code, so it shows construction, subcontracting, or otherwise. So like if Heather and Rico has these, if they've gone in to identify themselves, we can pull those down. So I'll give you my card after this, and maybe we can hook you up.
Fantastic. If
there's not, there's a way to try to pull those in.
Great.
Okay.
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
But it's good that you're actually reaching out.
Of course,
and,
yeah.
you know, Heather and Rico, I'm sure on the rehab side, as well as the other construction stuff we're going to talk about later, we certainly welcome that, okay?
Great. Thank you very much, sir.
Any other questions? Yeah, everybody's going to give you cards now. Any other questions we can answer on our pre-qualifications?
give everyone a little bit of backstory on why we take such pride in our craftsmanship of these houses is when you look at Delray as a community, you have an area that has all been bought out by the state of Michigan for the second span of an international crossing. So you guys are familiar with the Gordie Howe International Bridge. So there's another bridge coming. There's a group of residents that were bought out already by the state. They're gone. We wanted to give an opportunity to everybody else in Delray, an opportunity to move to another part of the city where we rehabbed a house for them. It's a big move. You've only known Delray for your whole life, 40, 50 years, and you have an opportunity now to get a renovated, updated house in another part of the city. We keep a Detroiter, and we're giving them a great product. So that's part of the reason why we have so many requirements. A lot of people are scared of the requirements, I would say, but we're here to make sure that we hold your hand through the entire process to get into the program, become a qualified vendor with the city of Detroit, and then ultimately be able to work on other projects, not just bridging neighborhoods.
If there aren't any other questions, the only thing I'll say after that is we actually really committed to trying to learn new contractors. We've recently started trying to reach out to any contractor that we've ever been connected with and start just making our own database of people that we can reach out to and connect whenever possible. I strongly encourage you to visit our website, which is just bridgingneighborhoods.org. You can enter in any of your information if you're interested in contracting opportunities. We literally push it into our database. Somebody will call you within 10 days, start learning about your company. You may determine after this that qualifying with us isn't the best, but we can try and connect you with other people who might be a better fit. You also can come to our office any Wednesday afternoon. Our field team is there. They're the ones that are out reviewing these homes, preparing them before we actually do construction on them. They can talk to you specifically about our program, what it's like to do work in the program, and answer any of your questions on site. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so very much for that information and for the questions. Again, some came in a little late, so I want to just take the opportunity to thank all of you for coming and want to also just let you know if you have a question, if you will go to the microphone and ask your question, we would appreciate it. Also, I would like to take an opportunity to thank both of our staffs who have worked on putting this together. Some of the staff is in here, some of the staff is across the hall, but I would like to take the opportunity to thank the staff as well as the vendors, as well as the presenters in taking an opportunity to do this. I would also like to take an opportunity to thank our sponsors who have also taken a part in this, as well as thanking the DEGC business manager, Dennis Perkins, who is here today, District 3 business manager. Come up so people can see who you are. How y'all doing? Did you want to say?
Good evening, everyone. Actually, I just received a different position like 3 weeks ago. I was the business liaison for District 5, but now I am the deputy district manager for District 4. So, thank you. So, yeah, things happen pretty fast. So, but Muhit is here from District 3. He's with the DEGC. He's across the hall. So, for any small business questions, he'd be able to answer those for you. But I can assist as well since I'm here.
He knows all jobs, the jack of all trades. Okay, thank you so much. So now we're going to move on to our next part of the fair, and that is the cash readiness event portion. And everyone knows if you're going into business, you probably don't have enough cash dollars to do exactly what you would like to do. I can tell you that for sure because I've been in business myself. I was a small business owner. I had a women's shoe store downtown, and that has been so long ago. And one of the problems that I had when I had my business and wanting to get a loan was I go into the bank, and guess what they ask me? How much money do you have for collateral? Really? If I had some money, you think I would be here trying to get some money? So things have changed a little, and he has just come in, and I'll introduce him after I finish this sentence. But things have changed a little, and with things changing now, you're more able to get cash dollars and to get a loan. And so we're going to move it to the portion that will assist you into getting those dollars. And so we're going to ask our DGC manager if he will come forth and introduce himself, and if he take the mic. You have to take the mic. That's part of it. No, you can take this one. You can take this mic and just introduce yourself, and if there's anything you want to say. It's one thing about these two council members right here. We don't care nothing about giving up the mic.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Jones and Ms. Ayers. Great to be here today. So you guys are in District 3. I'm as Ms. Jones was saying, I'm the District 3 Business Liaison, working with Detroit Economic Growth Corporation and with the Mayor's Office. So we started a month short of a year ago. There are 7 district business liaisons. I'm in District 3. There are 6 others in the 6 other districts. Our job is to help our small businesses to navigate the city services, help businesses to connect to resources that all the vendors out there today. And if you cannot meet all the vendors today, and if you have more questions, so I will give you my card. You can always get in touch with me, and I will be more than happy to assist, to connect you with different resources that are available. So whether it's access to capital, it's access to, you have like talent needs for your business, and other resources that are available for our small business in the city of Detroit. And also we are collecting data as we are meeting our businesses day by day, trying to improve the policies, the system, how it works, and how it works friendly for our small businesses. So we don't want you to go to City Hall and not understanding what is really happening, and where should I go, and getting all this run around. So things gonna change, and things are already changing. So DBL is a role that was a creation from the mayor's vision to help this city, our small businesses. So we are here to help. Please feel free to contact me. I'll be around here until the end of the event. My name is Abdul Muhit. I'm the District 3 Business Liaison. Yeah, it's great to be here. If you guys have any question at the moment, please. Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Denise Lomax, and I'm from District 7. And so my question is, we have some issues over there. Is there someone in my district that does exactly what you're doing? Because Janeé, no, I'm going through some stuff over there about the project that I'm building. I'm building a 5-block project.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So there's a good news. So as I said, there are 7 district business liaisons working in 7 districts. As I'm in District 3, so we have a district business liaison in District 7. Her name is Brianna Walker. I will give you her contact number before you leave. Okay.
And she's trying to get me to go through Motor City Match, and that's not what I want to do. I want to, I'm not going through Motor City Matches.
Okay, let's talk, yeah. Any other question? Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
If you could go to the mic, please.
Apologize for my lateness, but I just have a question. I need to know, in District 5, which is, the City Council, Sheffield. Yes. Who would be the liaison, you said? Yes, who would be the one for that district?
So, yeah, there's Dennis Perkins. He used to be, so he has recently started working as a deputy manager for District 4. Okay. And so we are actually in the process of hiring a new District 5 business liaison. But if you have any question, I think right now he can maybe answer. And if he cannot,
Okay.
like, I am here, and
Okay.
we'll try to
right.
help you with that.
Okay, well, just to say that what I'm want to do is me and there's 2 other people, and we want to go in and we want to rehab the houses in that area. And then we want to take the vacant lots and keep them cut, but also put flowers and whatnot, just to beautify the neighborhood. So that's what we've been trying to do for a long time.
Okay. We can talk, yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. I'll be around. If you guys have any other question, please. Yes.
My name is Brad Clifford, and we went to the other center first, got here late. So for regrouping on content, how would we do that? Missing the first session.
Thank you. You haven't missed anything. The first session was just specifically talking about the Building Neighborhoods program, but if there's something in particular that you may need to find out as it pertains to your business, then we have our vendors across the hall. But you really are right in the sweet spot of it, because we're about to start talking about the cash readiness part. So I don't think you missed too much, but we have enough folks here to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Does everyone have an agenda? Does everyone have an agenda? Okay, because if you don't have an agenda, we can make sure you get one. And again, if you are just coming in and there are some vendors that you would like to talk to, you can, if you see what portion we are in, and we're about to talk about cash readiness, feel free to walk in and out to talk to the vendors across the hall. Again, we apologize for the inconvenience of asking you to go to the mic, but we do have media service here who's televising this so that if people are unable to get here, they're able to hear the questions and answers as well, as this is being televised. So again, thank you for being here. So now we are going to call Paul Jones up. Oh, he's right here. I'm sorry, before he started, I forgot to acknowledge your state representative from this area, Ms. Tanisha Young. If you just raise your hand, it is always good to see elected officials out, and sometimes you get so engaged in what you're saying, you forget to do what you're supposed to do. So I just wanted to make sure I acknowledged her, and you all make sure you know who your state rep is, and she is here to also support. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you guys for being here, and I feel pretty honored. You said that they're coming into a sweet spot, so I don't know if that was because of me or because, but anyway, this is a great time to be in Detroit, to start a business, to grow a business. I grew up in Detroit, and I was one of those guys who left after high school and just came back a couple years ago, actually almost 2.5 years ago. And I just built a business. I've had several businesses. Some of them have succeeded, some of them have failed. But the ones that have succeeded have outweighed the ones that failed. So I can tell you from an entrepreneur guy, from a guy who's worked in investment banking, and from a guy who's left and is coming back in, that you guys are in the right place at the right time. I will just jump right in. And again, if you have any questions along the way, step up to the mic. If I'm going to get to it, I'll tell you I'm going to get to it, but otherwise we can get started. I do have a couple of things. I call it like an audience agreement. One, I will try to make it interesting for you, and I would ask that you don't fall asleep. If you do fall asleep, don't snore, okay? So if we can do that, then that would be great. How many of you guys are existing businesses now? Great. Wow, that's good. So you guys have been around the block a few times. How many of you guys are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and looking to start your new business? Okay, good. So we have a good mix. So I just want to make sure I tailor the message around that. So as I said, I'll tell you a few things that we're going to talk about. I don't know if you can see it, but this is an overview. We're going to talk about who's eligible for money, why and when you should get capital, the different types of capital that are out there, preparing your narrative, working on your checklist, which is a pretty long checklist, and where to go and where not to go for money, and then I'll tell you a little bit about my company. So what I would like to tell you guys is that there is money out there for just about every scenario that you could be in. So I know there's some people who, like I said, are startups. There's a few of you guys out there. And there's some people who have what I call entrepreneur's credit, which means that you've bootstrapped, you've paid everything you could to get your business going on, and you may have missed a few payments every now and then. There are some people who've had bankruptcies, et cetera, and I would say don't let that stop you from going through the process, because there's money out there, especially in this environment, as the council president alluded to. So don't be discouraged by your past failures. Use it as a learning lesson and get your ducks in a row and get the money that you need to grow the right way. So you don't have to bootstrap. Now, I'm not saying you should go out there and get as much money as you possibly can get if you don't have a good idea, but if you do have a good idea, you need money, don't feel like you can't get it, because it's out there for you. You should know where you are in the spectrum. So if you are a person with, like I said, entrepreneur's credit, you may not be able to go to a traditional lender. There may be a different type of lender out there for you. If you are in startup mode, you may have to go get a micro loan and start small but grow your way up. So just understand, be realistic, have a come to Jesus session with yourself and say, this is where I'm at and this is what I need to do. And once you start the process, you'll get to where you need to get to. And the process could be longer, it could be shorter, but no matter what it is, it's going to be the process. If you wait to start, then it's still gonna take time. And I would say, like I said, understand that don't overestimate your limitations. Again, don't think that because you've had some failures in the past that takes you out of the game, because it really doesn't. So I'll go to the next slide. So why and when do you need capital? There's some people out there, and I was in this camp of a cavalier, I'm going to bootstrap my way up to the top. And there are some success stories where that happens, but there are scenarios where you absolutely do need to go institutional. That means you can't go cowboy. You need to get the financial resources to grow your business the right way. The way I look at it is, when you're ready to take your business from a hustle to a business, you probably want to start thinking about getting some good financial backing behind you, if you know what I mean. Some people, it's good. Some people are happy with the hustle. You go out there, you run it, and as soon as you stop hustling, the business dries up. That's one scenario. But if you're saying, look, I really want to take this to the next level, and one of my friends from grade school, he called me up. He's in Florida now. He has a plumbing service, and he said, hey, I'm ready to grow it. I'm doing about $400,000 in revenue, so it's a good hustle. But I want to take it to the next level, and I need to go ahead and get some capital. So we had that discussion. So if you're ready to go to the next level, then you want to start considering capital. If you're ready to get city contracts, which require sometimes working capital, then you need to get financeable, okay? So just understand that you can grow to a certain point without, just bootstrapping it, family and friends, et cetera, but that's only going to take you so far. And also understand that, like I said, get an early start. Like the council president mentioned, don't wait until you absolutely are down to your last penny to go start looking for capital, because that's when you're most vulnerable, and that's when people won't give you money. It's a very perverse, irony that as soon as you need money, that's when people say we don't want to give you money. If you're sitting there with $100,000 in your account, then I sold an investment property, so I had a decent chunk of money in the account. I went to B of A, and they never talked to me before. Then they wanted to take me to a private room and tell me how much more money they wanted to give me. But it doesn't make sense, but that's how it is. So when you need money, when you don't need money, or when you're just starting out, that's a great time. Don't wait until you absolutely need it. Any questions? You guys are so active with the other session. I don't know if... All right. Oh, wrong one. All right, so we're going to touch on a few different types of funding, and this is more on the debt side. On the debt side, and this does include, there's a difference between debt and equity. Equity is what you take out of your pocket and put into the business, or someone else who is investing in the business for ownership puts into the business. Normally with equity, it doesn't come with a maturity date, meaning you don't have to pay it back at a certain point in time. usually equity partners are looking for dividend or to make money when you sell the business. Equity is usually, you start off with friends and family, and you have to be very careful who you partner up with on the front end, because when you make it big, and I believe that a lot of you guys will make it big, then those equity relationships start to turn the other way. Some of you guys have done. I had one business, and I was going through a divorce and a business failure at the same time, and the business failure hurt more than the divorce. No, but really, you have to be very careful of who you partner up with on the equity side. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, you work with someone side by side for so long, you see them more than you see your wife, so that's why it hurts a little bit more. But anyway, so equity, like I said, this does not account for equity. This does not account for bootstrapping, but that is a source of capital. There's a family and friends loans out there, or family and friends investments, and that's good money to an extent, as long as the people who invest know that they can lose everything that they invest in you and still talk to you at the Thanksgiving table. If they're comfortable with that, then they may be ready to invest, okay? But let's talk about debt. Some people use their credit card. Credit card is probably the easiest, if you have okay credit, to use, and it's the most tempting, but it's a very high interest rate usually attached to it. There's lines of credit. Lines of credit are more seasonal or more temporary. So it's something that the bank will give you. They charge every day that you use it, but you have to pay it down within 1 year, and then you can use it again. So it's not meant to be a long-term source of capital. It's meant to be a very seasonal or temporary source of capital. I'll give you an example. When you get that big city contract, and they say, and you go cheer and celebrate, and then you look at the purchase order and realize they're not going to pay you for 45 or 60 days, well, you got to pay your people today. 30? All right, good. Things have got, like I said, this is a great time to be in business, but when they're going to pay you in 30 days, and you don't have any money right now, but you know that the city is going to pay you, then that line of credit might be a good source of capital for you, because you can take that money, buy the materials you need, pay your employees or your workers to go out there and get the job done, and then this gentleman has promised he's going to pay you in 30 days. There we go. So that may be a good source of capital for you. If you're going out to build a building or buy a vehicle, which you're not going to be able to get that money to pay it down within a year, it's a longer term investment. So that line of credit might not be the right source of capital for you, okay? The next thing we'll talk about is microloans. Microloans is probably a really good solution for people who are trying to build their credit or who are startups. Microloans go from 0 to 5, 0 to 50,000 in some cases. And there's some micro lenders out on the other side. Michigan Women's Forward is over there. And we'll talk about a few different sources. But micro loans is a very good source of capital, and they're popping up. They're very prevalent here in Detroit, in the Michigan area. So when you're looking for capital, think about micro loans as a source if you're looking for 50,000 or less. Let me just take one, before I go to term loan, let me just veer off and talk about one place not to go. You guys have heard of the merchant lenders? The guys who call you up and say, just give us your bank account and we'll drop 30,000 in there tomorrow, no questions asked. And then they start asking a lot of questions like, where's my money plus 30%? Those are the ones you want to stay away from. If they're not asking for your tax returns, if they're not asking for the different things that most lenders will want to ask, then you don't want to go there. Trust me. That's been the death of many small businesses. Many small businesses. And it's a downward spiral. But it's so tempting. I just need to make payroll. I just need $20,000 today. That $20,000, as soon as you give them they give you that money, then within a few days, they're tapping your account every day. And you don't even know what the interest is at some point. So stay away from that. If there's anything you learned from me today, stay away from those guys. Term loan. Term loans are the longer loans that go out 5 years, 10 years, in some cases, if it's commercial, 20 years. And these are where you hear about the SBA backing the loan. And we could talk about that if you guys want. I don't want to get too technical or too deep geek, but I'm happy to go there if I have any geeks who want to go with me. We can go down that rabbit hole, and I'll hold your hand and bring you out of it. But term loans, there's a lot of institutions that are doing term loans in the city of Detroit right now for entrepreneurs like you who are in startup mode, who may not be traditionally financeable, but still want to see you grow. There's a lot of money out there. And these are loans, like I said, they can go up. Invest Detroit, and we'll talk about them. They go up to, I think, what, 5 million? DDF goes up to 150,000, so that money is out there for you. And we'll talk about some of these in great detail. So I'll give you a whole list of everybody who's going to give you money, all right? Any questions? Yes, to the mic. I'm not even going to answer unless you go to the mic.
Okay, so how does a nonprofit fit in with that?
That's a good question. It depends on your mission, and there are a lot of institutions that will lend to you. They're looking more for if you have the capacity to pay it back. So there's a mission component to it. Like they want to see if you're employing people, if you're doing good in the community, if you're minority. I mean, they have that checklist. But at the end of the day, you have to illustrate your ability to pay it back if you're looking for a loan. But they do not do nonprofits. They lend to nonprofits. Okay. And we'll talk about those sources.
That's what I was going to ask you. Can we
talk
about that?
I got it all out there for you. You came to the right place. Any other questions? All right, good. And let me know how I'm doing on time. I don't know, because I can talk. All right. So here's the next step. And this is why, this is what we sort of help you do, but you should be prepared to do. You have to know your narrative. So here's a scenario. If your friend asks you to borrow $1 today, and he's going to pay you back $1.25 tomorrow, you're going to say, well, where are you going to get that $1.25 from? You don't even have $1 today. Where are you going to come up with that $1 and my 25 cents more, right? That's basic, common sense. So that's what the banks are going to ask you. First of all, they want to know, when you go to a bank or a lender, they want to know what you need. And the answer is money, but how much you need, right? So the phrase that a lot of people will say is know your ask. Know what you're asking for. If you don't know what you're asking for, then we're just having a cup of coffee. It means nothing, right? You have to know how much you need, and then you also need to know what you need it for. This is your narrative. What does your business do? These are the elements of a business plan without the 50 pages. This is like just thinking out your thoughts. This is what we do, and we're going to need this money because we got a big city contract, and we need $50,000, and we're going to get paid back in 30 days. Or we need to buy some new vehicles because we have to deliver some things. We have to build a new facility. Know what you need and know how much that's going to cost you. Okay, so prepare that narrative. Then you need to be able to say, how is this going to be what I call a productive usage of capital? Aside from the lenders, always make sure if you're going to take on money, that's going to help you generate more money because you're going to have to pay back interest on it, right? So if you're going to have to pay back 7% to Angelia because she wants her money, or if you're going to have to pay back 7% to your lender, make sure that you're going to be able to generate enough cash. You have a productive usage of capital. Many times businesses, they'll go out and get a loan because they're trying to put money on top of a problem. You got to fix your problem first, or else you're going to still have that problem and a loan to pay back, right? So always have a productive usage of capital and be ready to articulate that to the lender. I'm going to use this money, and it's going to make me more money because it's going to, A, increase revenue, and or B, reduce costs. Therefore, more cash is going to come into my pocket. They call that financial projections, but that's just a fancy way of showing how that money is going to help you make more money by increasing your revenue or reducing your costs. And then, again, part of your ask is, like I said, know when you will be able to pay it back. Know that if it's a vehicle, or if you're opening up a new store, It's going to take 6 months for a store to be open. You may need a few more months to get some people in the door, and you'll be ready to start paying back that loan after 9 months, or shorter or longer, but know when you will be able to pay back that money. So this is your narrative. Very short and simple. No, talk about your business, what you do, how much you're going to ask for, and why you need it, and how long it's going to take you to pay it back. It's pretty simple, right? Any questions? Either I'm doing really well or you guys are really not interested in what I'm saying. Probably a little both. I like to say both. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Hi.
I'm Minya Irby. I'm the owner of Cooper Irby Brewster Professional Services. We're an independent insurance agency here in the city of Detroit. And my question is, when you talk about funding and you say startup, I've only been in, my agency has only been in existence for a year. Is that long enough, or do I need more time as a startup to qualify?
That's long enough.
Okay.
That was easy, but yes. Just to not be terse, but no, startup, there's people who just have an idea who have not generated a penny out of their business and still can get funding. If you're in business and you have something to show, then yes, that's long enough. Any other questions? Okay. Councilwomen, you guys good? All right, good. If you guys are good, we're good. Exactly.
I'll
So
bring
if
one
you
up.
don't, I'm sorry.
Can you just talk about the different, you mentioned on the interest on the credit card. Of course, we know it's going to be 12 to 23%, 33%. Can
Yes,
you talk
sir.
about the interest rates on the other ones and the cost of money?
Absolutely, that's a great question.
And points and modes.
And sorry?
Points and modes, cost and
Oh, sure.
documentations.
Okay, right. So it ranges, which is the easy answer, but if you're looking at you cover credit card, line of credit, they do this thing called Prime Plus something. They say what the government or what banks lend to each other at, and they add a spread on top of that. But in general terms, when a bank is giving a line of credit, it's going to be anywhere between 5.5% to 7 or 8%, rough range. If you're looking at higher, what are you seeing? Yeah. Okay, that's on the high side. You're starting to venture into the merchant lending side. You start getting up to 12%. Yeah, I mean, so PayPal, and that's good. I mean, just to throw it out there, so PayPal is probably like right on the cusp of what I call merchant lending. Hope no one works for PayPal in here, but no, their loans, when you do those PayPal loans, again, this is one of those things that you don't need to show anything. We're just going to, every time you do a transaction, we're going to pull a little money out for ourselves. They're probably one of the nicer merchant lenders, but still merchant lending, and they're around 12+%. Like their first fee is like $500, and then we're going to take something out. And you don't even know what the interest rate is, somewhere buried in there, but it may come out. And when you add on like what their startup, I don't know what they call it, activation or whatever fee it is, plus what they're taking from each transaction, that can get up to 15%. But if you're going to a bank with a line of credit, a traditional bank, it's going to be more in the 5.5, which is prime, up to 7, 7.5. If you start seeing north of 12%, then you just have to take a very close look at it. Term loans, if you're looking at term loans can, again, go anywhere from 6% for traditional lending to, depends, but if you're working with DDF or Invest Detroit, Angelia left, but if you're working with those, they're around 7.5%. Is that, okay, there's Ray. How you doing, Ray? Good. This is the man, he carries a big checkbook with him at all times, so you're gonna, no, so they're in, but Ray, he's with the Detroit Development Fund. Michigan Women's, they're around 8%. Again, with give or take half a percentage point. So with these, and these are very friendly lenders. What I like about the term loans with the mission-based lenders, what they call them, like DDF and Invest Detroit, is not only do they not only do they lend you money, be very careful because they're gonna say, you told me you're gonna give me some money. Not only do they lend you money, but they also give you a lot of technical support. So they give you the guardrails. They say, well, Mr. Ray and Detroit Development Fund, I need $100,000, okay? We look at your business plan, we believe in you, we believe in that this is a good concept for the city, here's $100,000. And then you come back and say, well, I need some marketing support. Well, we may be able to help you out with that too. So they give you the full support network that a traditional bank may not give you. So that's another sort of intangible benefit that doesn't show up on the interest rate to consider when you look at your lending partner. Yeah. Okay, I think I covered that. I'll go to the next slide. Thank you. Wow, this is a big list. This is what you know, there's a printout of this at the DEGC. This is what they call a capital readiness checklist. So this is what the lenders are looking for. And I'll break it down just to different sections because it's a lot more scary than it's a lot more scary than it actually seems. But what they're going to look for is, oh yes, they can find that right across the hall with Kira at the DEGC desk. And they have this capital ready list. This was developed by a lot of lenders, a lot of technical partners, a lot of very smart people. I would love to say that I did it, but probably some of the people who did do it are in this room, so I can't take credit for it. But it's a very good list of different items you need to cover. Sure. Yep.
Today. Thank you. Say union voice again. Before you leave out of here, make sure that you pick up a copy of this sheet so that you can go home now and start checking it off and say, hey, what do I have? What do I need to work on? Because Paul is dropping some jewels on y'all, and I want to make sure you're not missing it, but you definitely want to make sure you get that sheet because that's your roadmap so you can figure out where you are on the path.
That was really good. I'm gonna sit down and you can take the rest of this because you're no, but that's exactly right. It's like you're going to a test and someone's saying this is everything you're gonna have to answer. If you got this, you're golden. If you're not, you know exactly what you need to work on, right? And the good thing about this list is that once you've done it, then you're in a good shape. I tell people, once you have this list, and go out and get your minority certification, go out this, because this is going to be a list that's going to serve you well. Once you go out and get, like, let's say your personal, your personal credit score, you have your personal taxes done. Cash flow is that you have a budget in place, you have a bookkeeper or accountant in place. I'll go to the next stage. You have your company set up as an LLC or even as a sole business, partnership, corp. Once you have these things done, and again, you have your taxes ready to go for 3 years, then not only are you financeable, but you are also ready to go out and get the minority certifications. You're probably well on your way to go to the city and start working with them to get whatever certifications they need. But this is something that as a business, like I said, when you're ready to go from taking your business, there's a list right there. If you're ready to go from taking your business from a hustle to a business, this is the checklist that I say you look at, not only for going before financial partners, but making sure that you are ready as a business. Any questions on that? We can go through this list, but basically, in a very, very short summary, it's going to say you need to know the status of your business, what you're requesting the financing for, what we talked about, your personal information, like what your credit score is, your personal financial statement, and what type of collateral you have to put on the table, if you're illegal to work in the U.S., and then know what your liens and child support is, things about your personal stuff you should already know, your cash flow, doing a few projections on how much money this loan is going to help you make? Do you have a business bank account? This is a good one, by the way. A business bank account, always, point number 2, if there's one thing, a second thing you can do today is make sure you separate your personal spending from your business spending. Not separate it in your mind or an Excel spreadsheet or with your checkbook with a little star by this, but keep a separate bank account. Do that, please, right? And when you pay yourself, don't pay yourself by, I'm gonna use this money to go to Walmart and then I know this is personal, this is how I'm paying myself. But do that by transferring money out of your business account to your personal account and spending it, right? Because I see a lot of small businesses and say, well, I don't really take anything from my business, so that's why I spend it on personal. I make some personal expenses because I don't really take a draw. Man, you spend more money by doing that, robbing your company, than you would if you just paid yourself. And you have no budget for either yourself or the company. So make sure you separate the two. Go home, do that today. You can do it online. Just set up another account and transfer the money to your personal side. And then that will help you create your personal budget as well. Okay? So yeah, that's a biggie. And if you get audited, that will become a bigger biggie. Legal, make sure you're set up as an entity. Determine how you're going to set yourself up. I have thoughts and opinions about that, but I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to voice that. But talk to a lawyer. Make sure you set up the way that is going to fit your specific needs. And then make sure you have your taxes filed. A lot of stuff, but this is what you need to do. Any questions on that? Okay. Moving right along. I think I'm good on time. If I start running short on time, someone just tell me. All right, cool. So this is where we're going to get a little bit deep into it, the traditional versus non-traditional. You go to Bank of America. You say, I've been banking with you for 3 years. I need $100,000 to go out and buy 3 vehicles and hire 2 people. And they tell you no. Does that mean you're not financeable? No. Very good. There you go. A prodigy. Yes.
I guess maybe I already know the answer, but I'm in business, and I have a plumbing business. So I'm licensed. I have guys that work for me, and I've been just paying them, just writing them a check. So I've been told that I need to. Well, you could talk about that on how I should be handling that.
Yeah, there's very specific guidelines on who's a contractor versus who's an employee. But if they are a contractor, then you can write them a check and make sure you record it as you paid a contractor, and you have to give them a W-9 or a 1099 them at the end of the year. You have to give them a W-9. If you don't do that, then there's no record, and you're sort of paying them under a table. And you won't be able to really present financials that really make a lot of sense. So yeah, you have to record it and document that. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, so someone just answered a question. Just because B of A doesn't give you money or doesn't lend you money does not mean that you are not financeable. They have this whole ecosystem of what they call non-traditional lenders. A few of them are listed here. A few of them are here. I don't know if you guys got what I'm saying, but a few of them are here. The people who can lend you money are right here in the building tonight, okay? So short of hitting you upside the head, I think that's about as straightforward as I can get. But the traditional lenders would be the JP Morgans, the Chase, the Huntingtons, the PNCs of the world. And then the non-traditional lenders, the ones who will lend to people who may not be eligible for traditional loans, are the Detroit Development Funds, the Invest Detroits, the Michigan Women's Forward Fund. I think every one of them are in the house tonight. So these are the people you want to talk to if you're not eligible for traditional financing. What's the difference between the two? Yes.
See, Paul is being nice, so I'm not going to be as nice as Paul. Y'all hear what he said? Those folks are in the building. And so this is why we're stressing the importance of making sure you go get that check sheet so you can already go through it. And then when you come across him, you can say, hey, look, this is where I am on this roadmap. So the money is in the building. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm not really one to leave money on the floor. So if you know that you are here and you're serious about what you want to do, know that those folks are here. The tools are here, and I want you to just take advantage of what's in front of you. Because Paul is trying to stress it, but I'm going to stress it since we're D3. We're going to stress it D3 style. Money is in the building. Thank you.
And also, in that list, it looks very, very long and cumbersome. The resources, and a lot of them are free or heavily subsidized to help you with that checklist, are also available to you. There's the Accounting Aid Society. I'm not sure if they're here, but you can look them up online. They do free accounting work for you. And they give heavily subsidized accounting courses. So the excuses that you may have, you can throw them out the window. They're your own excuses at this point, because I'm taking all those excuses off the table. There's free legal help out there for you. SBA is right across the hall. There's this thing called the Business Grid. The Biz Grid, again, at DEGC, has a lot of these resources. Some of them are paid, and some of them are free, and some of them are heavily subsidized. So as you look at that list, and you realize you don't have as many boxes checked as you would like to have or you need to have, then you start seeking help. Don't take yourself out of the game. You start seeking help, and it's out there for you. Okay. This is like giving you guys all the tools right here. This is a list of all of those non-traditional lenders. Yeah, I think that's across the hall as well. And we can I don't know if we can get a copy to anybody who wants this. But yeah, DEGC has this list. These are the different lenders, how much they lend, contact name, and email. Again, I think you guys are running out of excuses here. Yes,
Hi,
ma'am.
Paul. 2 questions. So where's the checklist that you're referring to?
Yes, ma'am.
Second question is, can you differentiate between non-traditional and traditional lenders?
Great question.
And go ahead, ask those 2 first.
I like that. You said, I'm only going to come up here once. I'm going to say everything I have to say. All right, so the checklist is right across the hall at the DEGC desk.
Okay.
So they have that checklist, and they have this list as well of different lenders sitting at the desk, okay?
Okay.
Difference between non-traditional and traditional. Let me just jump over here again. Traditional lenders, the pluses and minuses. Interest rates are usually a bit lower than a non-traditional lender. So a traditional lender like a B of A, if you are financeable to a traditional bank, their rates for a term loan may be 6%, right? Invest Detroit or DDF will hover around 7.5%. So it's a bit more from an interest rate standpoint. And in many cases, it takes a little bit longer for the non-traditional lenders to release your funds. And I like to say there's a couple reasons for that. And if I'm speaking out of turn, let me know. But I think one is because if you go non-traditional, a lot of times you need a little bit more support in getting those things together. So it's not necessarily their fault. It takes longer to release the money. It just means that it took you a little bit longer and they need to help you get through the process. The other thing is that if you're not financeable traditional lender, they give you a little bit more guardrails, a little bit more support, but that might require a little bit more work on your side, but they also give you the resources. So a longer funding process normally with non-traditional lenders than traditional lenders and higher interest rate. The good thing is that they give you the technical support to help you succeed, and their business is not, they're a bit more supportive if you fall into trouble. I'll put it like that. And again, their mission, one of their missions is to help you become traditionally financeable. So they're not going to come in and lock you into 7.5%. If you get to the point where you are financeable with a traditional bank, then you can refinance the loan out. There's no prepayment penalties. Is that correct? No prepayment penalties. And they actually encourage, they'll start introducing you to lenders, right? I mean, well, I like you guys. You guys are helping me all along the way, but they want to help. They want to help you guys get traditional financing because then there's more people they can help.
Okay, no, that was great, thank you. I think I wanted to ask, and I may be way off track, but in terms of getting lending, is there a recommendation on those lenders who might do more of lending to a minorities, women supplier versus, am I saying it right?
Yeah, I think I get, I mean.
So obviously I'm a, minority supplier, a woman, right?
Okay.
And so do you recommend going to any particular lender? Do we have that kind of data? Do we have more supportive lending supporting black women owners than others?
That's a good question.
I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there.
That's a good question. I don't know that. I can tell you that usually when I work with companies and I'm pushing them in one direction versus another or suggesting, it's driven by what the size of the project.
Okay.
So if you're going to the Detroit Development Fund, the lowest they'll go is $50,000. Now, Prosper Us and Michigan Women's Foundation, or Michigan Women's Forward, I think is what it's called now, they go down to $2,500 and only go up to $50,000.
Okay.
So it's more about what your need is. And the cool thing about these lenders is they're not out competitive. You talk to one, they're like, no, you're with us. They will go and say, look, you're not quite right for us, but go talk to Megan or go talk to Amanda. They'll tell you, go talk to this entity. And they all work together to make sure that you're in a good position.
All right, good. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions? All right. I think only one person fell asleep, so I'm doing okay. All right. Yeah, there we go. Just like we discussed. The traditional lenders versus, I call it non-traditional. One type of non-traditional lender is what they call Cdfis. Just throwing the terminology out there because you'll hear these things used interchangeably. A CDFI is a Community Development Financial Institution. Again, their mission is not profit. They want to get their loans paid back, but their mission is usually a mission-based loan. So their mission is usually they want to see that you're creating jobs, that they're giving more money to people who are not traditionally able to get money, which may be a minority, it may be an immigrant. So these are people who they're the ones you go to, and they're driven by more what their mission is rather than default rate or return on investment. They also, like I said, a huge component for a lot of companies that are trying to take it to the next level is they give technical support. So sometimes they even pay me to go help the companies out, right? They'll say, this is a company that needs some services, they need some hand-holding on the financial side. Paul, Tiva Capital, we guys go and help them, and by the way, we'll pay for it. Great, I mean, you can't really beat that. So if you are in need of, if you're not ready to take the step to go to Chase, but you do need capital, it's a really, really good source. Yes, ma'am.
So for the CDFIs,
Yes.
are they more so microloan based, or is there a cap on how much they're willing to loan?
Good question, and this is so small you can't see it, but there is a cap. Some go from minimum 2,000 to 50,000. Others go from 50,000 to 750,000.
So are all of those considered?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And again, this is available at the DEGC table across the hall. Anything else? You guys ready to get some money yet? All right, good. All right. So that was it. So just a little bit about my company. I'm not going to do the commercial pitch. I'll leave a little more time for Q&A. But just to bring it back, the company, we're consulting. We help companies raise capital, help you build your narrative. All the things that we talked about, we do. But on a personal note, like I said, I grew up on the west side, but don't hold that against me. But I grew up in Brightmoor. I went to Cass. I left after high school. I just came back, right, a couple years ago. I've grown businesses. Like I said, some have failed, some have been successful. My last business venture was a telecom company in West Africa. We grew it from 0 to 20 million in revenue. I was a co-founder of that. I exited that a couple years ago. So when I'm talking to you, I'm not telling you things that I heard, or I'm not telling you things as a consultant. I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you that with the right team around you, with the right financial structure and discipline, you can make it. There's no excuse unless your excuse is you don't want to. That's the only excuse you have. But the support is out there. The environment is a great environment. You have the government, the city council team is behind you. So this is a great time to start a business, and just go seek out the resources you need to exceed.
All right. So we're going to go into some more Q&A. If, in fact, you all have questions, if you have any questions, you should start making your way to the microphone now so that Paul can answer. But let's give it up for Paul one more time, because he provided a lot of good information. I was over here taking notes, and I don't even have a business, but I'm like, right, never know, so.
Thank you.
Hi, Paul. My name is Shayna Simone, and I had a question about your company. You said TFA Capital, so I'm assuming you are kind of like the liaison to help us get capital. Does that include searching for investors, or is it just like loan type of things?
So we do some equity, but on a limited basis. More of what we do, so my company, we're a technical advisor for Motor City Match. We also work with a lot of people who've come through the Goldman Sachs program, which is a great program, by the way. Look into that program. It's the Goldman Sachs 10K SB, if you haven't heard of it, and it gives you a lot of support. But yes, we do work with some capital raise on the equity side as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yes, there's a program. It's a national program. They have a space here in Detroit. It's called the Goldman Sachs 10K Small Business. Goldman Sachs 10K SB. There's a recruitment process. It's very rigorous, but they teach you a lot about business. It's like getting that small business MBA. And once you do that, a lot of the lenders look very favorably in that, because it shows you have the commitment and dedication to make your business grow, and it's an amazing network. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I just wanted to say, well, one thing I was always taught, it's hard to give out your lack. If you don't have it as a launching business to create a loan that you don't know what your deficit is, what would be some options you have for those in our community that will need, maybe for crowdfunding? What type of options outside of that, or grants that you have as sources for us that you can expound on?
Yes, that's a great question, and thank you for bringing that to the table. There are many different grants out there. One that comes to mind, because I work very closely with them, is the Motor City Match program. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but they help you in terms of, they grant every quarter $500,000 to about 10 businesses. So they grant up to $100,000, as small as maybe 20 or 30,000. I don't know what their range is, but they're very active in giving out grants to people who are starting a physical location. There are a lot of pitch competitions too. So if you don't mind getting in front and telling people what a great idea you have, Michigan Women's Forward, they have one called is it Dolphin Tank? It's like Shark Tank, but not as aggressive, I guess. There's another one called Demo Day. That one's closing today. That's where Dan Gilbert and the Quicken Loans team gives out, I don't know, about $1 million in one day. So these are off the top of my head. I don't have a list on my presentation, but there are a lot of grant dollars out there as well.
Okay, so how do the DDGC help with those to get to those channels? Is there any like social media advertisement or anything that can help to be subsidized for the lack in the community to help build a platform for crowdfunding?
For crowdfunding, I don't know if there is something that's supported by DEGC for crowdfunding. Oh, by the way, Kiva is an interest-free loan. This came to mind. But I don't know if there is one platform that's sponsored by the government or the city of Detroit that will say, here's the different crowdfunding platforms. That would be more of a research game, I guess.
Okay. Okay, now for the city council, I wanted to find out, is there any plans of regulating business ownership in our community from the city aspect to build the community wealth?
Regulating what kind of business?
Every business that has a monopoly on our community with, you know, as far as it goes with, I'll say wealth, the economic wealth of the community.
Well, we're not looking to regulate, I can't say.
Well, I'm saying, you know, when corporations or companies that comes into here, and is there any type of tax regulation to help filter that money back into that community for the ones who's spending the money in the community?
I know where the nexus of your question is, but
Okay.
it's so broadly stroked that I'm like,
where you want to take
I don't know, because sound like we could be treading into, if we talk about dispensaries, you could be talking, there's a lot of things we can talk about.
No, I'm talking about community wealth. Whether it be grocery stores, whether it be gas stations, things that has been taken over in our community. How do we filter back in, even though we collaborate and work with other companies through, like you say, Motor City Match with the business owner and the business person, you still are giving up certain rights as a start off, because if you put the funds that's invested from Motor City Match for the grant you're giving it to a business owner that may still not hold your interest, and then you're still out of luck if they say, well, lease over, no big deal, we, you know, enjoy it, you know, and you can take some of your equipment, you may not. So that's a kind of a high risk thing for us. The DEGC, when I found out about it, it did help with finding development property that we as a community were supposed to be able to get some, you know.
So let's do this. You and I can talk
concerns
offside.
Settled.
Because I think it's a lot, there's a lot in
for
there.
the community.
Yeah, no, it's a lot in that question.
We just need to be thinking about making some demands and looking outside of the box for things, because people, like I said, as a talk, you know, you can't give out your lack. And you know, to get a loan, being a realist person, and in the community that I have came from, this drive from, that, you know, it's really unrealistic for a startup business for us. We're already in the back shallows. We need something that's going to help us to build right quick. So if we put money into it, we need to own it.
Got you. So you and I can have a different conversation over offsides. But I do want to say this to you, as well as anybody else that may be interested in the room. Council President and I will be hosting a grant writing resource fair, and that'll be May 9th from 5 to 8 at 600 West Lafayette. And so there should be some flyers out in the hallway. But just as we start talking about access to capital, how do we move ourselves into, there may be grants. And so oftentimes, many of us, we don't know how to sit down and write a grant. I mean, if you told me to go write a grant right now, I would probably go write the word grant and tell you I did all I could do. So, excuse me, so that is something that we're gonna be doing. I know we have 2 more questions here, and then we're gonna have to move into our procurement portion.
Okay, so my question is, I'm in business, and I'm purchasing equipment, and so, you know, a lot of the vendors that I deal with, I'm able to get loans with them. And I guess my question is, are those loans, is that recommended, dealing with the vendor that you're already dealing with? and they're setting up those loans for you to actually purchase another piece of equipment?
That's a really good question. And it depends on the terms. Like, just to give the broad answer, it depends on the terms. Now, the good thing is that your capital expenditure, how much you have to put on the table, is lower. But sometimes the other lenders, they like to see that you have assets on your balance sheet. So if it's a lease to own, then that might, sometimes the terms are not as favorable. But if it's really a purchase where you have claims to the asset and you're just paying a note on it, it depends on what the interest rate is. And you would want to make sure they're very explicit about that. Because sometimes the smaller, or the more you have to dig in to find what your effective interest rate is, probably the bigger the number is. So just make sure you have that, a clear analysis on that. And then say, well, if I went to, again, just because they're in the room, if I went to DDF and they're going to do a 7% over 5 years, what does my payment look like? And just do it apples to apples. Yeah, but it's a good question. I mean, I think a lot of times in our community, people always sell you on what the monthly is, and you don't even know what the real cost is. So just make sure you understand the cost.
I had a question. You mentioned the Goldman Sachs. We had just recently found out about that and applied for it, but the issue was we didn't find dates of application deadlines. Do you happen to know any of that information, or is someone here for the Goldman Sachs program?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but I can give you, if you give me your information, I can put you in touch with the people, the committee that organizes it.
Okay, and then I just have one more question. I don't know if this is for you or for the council members, but my question was, I saw a press conference last year with Mike Duggan saying that he was moving into other areas and giving business owners, if they brought their business to those areas, 2 years lease free if they sign a 5-year agreement. I don't know if that program has rolled out, so I was just curious to know if you guys know anything about that.
I'm not aware.
It was a press conference that was in November. It was on TV. But if you Google it, it'll come up. But basically what he did for downtown and Midtown, he's moving into other areas. I think he said 6 other areas. And he is giving 2 years rent-free if you sign a 5-year agreement. But I can't find anything else about it besides that press conference.
Boise Jackson, Chief Procurement Officer for the city, still under development,
Okay.
so stay tuned.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good way to say.
All right, well, you guys have been a great audience. Thank you again for your time.
All right. So just want to take another opportunity to thank you all for coming out, because I don't know if it's still raining or not, but either way, you all are interested in investing in yourselves and thus investing in our community. And so we just want to thank you again. And I'm sure I'm saying that on behalf of myself and Council President, because you could have been anywhere else, but we want you to be here because we want you to be here, be present, and be in this space for this city. So definitely appreciate you. So we're going to move into the procurement portion, purchasing. And this is the part of the event where we are going to talk to you a little bit about partnerships with various financial institutions to provide cash. Oh, no. Well, that was a cut and paste, so I'm just going off the top of the head. We've got Boise Jackson here, who is our Chief Procurement Officer for the city of Detroit. And so if, in fact, y'all good? Y'all okay? Okay. All right. So Boise is the man that will connect you if it's time for us to be vendors with the city. And Council President is currently working on an ordinance that we will have some set-asides where we want Detroit businesses, you all can do it, you can do this work. And so that's what we're trying to do now. And so Boise will give you some more information, but this is the Chief Procurement Officer, Mr. Boise Jackson.
Take the mic, Boise. Take the microphone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How many of you have a business today in the city? Raise your hand. How many of you are looking to have a business in the city that currently don't have one? Just very few, okay? How many just basically interested in getting started, essentially? If you had the money, seems like we got a mixture of that as well. as Councilmember Ayers just mentioned, I want to talk to you about what things we have out on bid right now, as well as between Ray Waters and I, we're going to talk to you on how you can get money if you had a contract with the city that you can go fast on to get the contracts that you need, okay? And as Councilwoman Ayers and Jones emphasized to you, tonight we're talking about real stuff that's available for you if you're interested, depending on what your core competency is or your interest. You can get started tomorrow. You just heard about different avenues of how you can get money. We're going to tell you what you can put the money on, okay? So it should not be any excuses at all. The different type of purchases we have in the city, and all these get approved by City Council. We have goods, we have services, and we have a lot of professional services, okay? Let me talk to you a little bit about where we are right now from a status standpoint. We spend a little over $2 billion if you look at the total contract values we have in the city today. And we have certifications in the city that are very important to get. And I tell you a true story. We had two companies that bid on a construction project recently. One bid $14 million, the other company bid $14.5 that was located in Detroit. Y'all get what I just said? The company bid $14.5 that was in the city of Detroit. Because they were Detroit-based, Detroit headquartered, Detroit small business, and they were Detroit resident business, they got 10% off the amount. So the $14.5 went down to about 13 something. So they were able to get the contract. You see how important local preferences are? So please, please, we have people tonight that can get you started on getting your Detroit-based certification. It makes a lot of difference, especially if you're located in Detroit. If you're located outside of Detroit, you can still be based in Detroit, but you must have a business that's certified, and it shows that you're working out of it and you're paying taxes. But if you look at this metric here, we have $787 million, dollars that are non-certified. We're working aggressively to improve that compared to some of the other stipulations. We have women business enterprise certifications, and we have minority business certification. We don't use them in the certification calculation, but we still certify them in the city as well. Somebody asked me that a few moments ago. Yep. Okay. Yep. Up to the far left column, excuse me, I'll walk over here. You can see this red from the back here. Of the $2 billion, 787 is non-certified. Okay, that means that that individual is not really taking advantage of the local preferences we have in the city that I just talking to you earlier. If that company that I just gave you the example on this construction project that bid $14.5 million versus the other company that bid $14 million that was outside the city, they're in this pool here. They would have never got that contract. But because they were certified, that means they took the time, they came down to the city, and they got the Detroit base, they got Detroit headquarters, they're located in Detroit, right? They're Detroit small business, and oh, by the way, they employed 51% of the Detroit residents. So the employees were 51%. So the city council administration give you certifications for that. And by God, it really, really works. So we want this red piece to get smaller than this. And the other piece that I want to show you is this Detroit non-certified as well. So we got non-Detroit and we got Detroit non-certified. This certified pool right here, I'm working hard to fix this so that this pool can get better. And that's why these small business empowerment events are very, very important for you to know how to do that. We have a Detroit startup certification as well. And for the $2,500 that construction company paid for that $14,500, that was much, that's a big return, is it not? I think you would agree with me on that. Now, total contract term. So you get a contract with the city, you bid on it, and you are the lowest responsible bid, or by the way, you are a company that got the job. We are trying to change this yellow bar, if you can't see it in the back. 0 to 1 year is where a lot of our contracts are. Not tied to dollars, but primarily the amount of contracts that are reoccurring every year. Parks, janitorial services, facility services, vehicle repair, carpentry, plumbing. A lot of those things are continuous, car washing. Those are things that we do on an annual basis that we want to have longer term contracts on. And I'll talk a little bit later about what we're trying to do with that. But we want you to be able to have a contract that you can hire dependable people, keep them on the job, and definitely be able to make sure that you're getting the job done. If you look at the piece of the pie, and this, by the way, is out there, please make sure you go by the the procurement desk. Sandra, raise your hand. See this young lady here before you get out of here. Every one of you, we have prepared a procurement seminar book that takes you step by step on how you can get a contract with the city. You don't have to guess anything. Council members were earlier talking to you about the checklist on how you can get money. This tells you on what contracts and what bids we have and how you can get a contract with the city. So both pieces together, you should not have any excuse on not trying to get a contract with the city. Let me tell you some of the upcoming projects we have. We have a lot of different bids out there on the street. Tonight, I would like for you to get with Sandra. We have a system called Bid Sync. Have any of you heard it? Raise your hand if you've heard it. Oh, very good. That's super. Those of you that have not, we would like for you to sign up on Bid Sync tonight. It doesn't cost you a dime. You can see all of the bids that the city has in this application that we have. So it's no excuse again for you not to see the bids, run over to the people that's got some money, and then try to get a contract. Everybody with me? No excuse. So we're giving that to you free. You can click it watching the ball game tomorrow, and whatever you want to see. So that's out there for you. We've made this very simple, and City Council was a big part in helping me approve getting that application done. So what do we have out here? We got design and installing viaduct lighting. We have a lot of road projects. We got a lot of resurfacing. Heather talked about bridging neighborhoods, so I won't repeat that. Real-time crime center, so a lot of construction, plumbing, electrical kinds of things. Tow lots. If you're good in printing, rental property inspections, title insurance services, abatement and demolition. We don't have enough demolition companies in the city of Detroit. These two up here challenge me every single week on that. Boise, what the hell are you doing? So we need more demolitions companies, more companies that can do construction. So if you're located in Detroit or you're outside and you want to be based in Detroit, I would like to talk to you, okay? If you can do anything, I grabbed one of the gentleman's card that was in plumbing a few minutes ago because I want to talk to him. Now, collaboration is good. You can get a joint venture certification by people pulling together. You don't have to have all the answers, but people pull together, you can do this. And Ray's going to talk about in a few minutes how you can get money. See my gentleman there. So I'll be running you down. Transportation plant consultant, soccer grants. We have a citywide fuel, that should say fuel and diesel contract, towing vehicles, medical supplies, badges. Uniforms is something on a regular basis that we have to do. The police department is expanding. We need more uniforms in police, fire, MPD, and some of the others. So we have one minority company that's doing that today for a lot of it, and she's doing a very good job. 2 years ago, true story, we had one of the people that was in this room, a company called Guyanga, that prior to 2018 was sitting in this room and wanted a chance to do demolition. They had $11.8 million in contracts in 2018 alone. 11.8 million. So they took serious at heart on what they were doing. They went out to a young individual, probably 30 at the most. Same age as you, see? 37. Young person. When he talked to me about it, I said, well, what's your plan? He said, I'm going to come back to you with a plan. I quite frankly thought it was BSing. So he took advantage of what we're talking about here tonight, and we've had a couple women's as well that are doing the best surveys, but this is real. Please, please, please give this some serious consideration, okay? We have floor plane, map studies. If you know diagnostic equipment, please, please bid on that. We have bus inspections. We have vaccine kinds of things as well. So those are some of the things that I want to talk to you about, but we have at the desk all of these in black and white, so please, please get this book so that you can take that home with you, okay? Is that fair? And then run the people down with the money, and our payment terms are net 30. He said net 45, net 90. Ours is net 30. And we get your ACH information, and we load your invoices up, you load your invoices up in the system that we've bought, okay? So no more dropping off invoices in a place, and you can see the status of your payment online. You can see the status. A lot of people say, well, when the hell am I gonna get paid, boys? You know, we're doing the work for you, but we have now a system that's very, very visible so that you can see that. I think that's cool, okay? Let me talk very briefly about supply schedules. We recently, with City Council's help, are working on a new procurement module. Let me skip this. And what we're trying to do is have longer-term contracts. And longer-term contracts, in addition to the process where we wanted to do more empowerment outreaches that we have here before, Council has challenged the administration to add money so that we can get out and mentor companies like yourselves. We can grow and really try to grow Detroit small businesses and other businesses in the city. So this whole schedule speaks to reoccurring kind of items when we're in 30% of it has to be set aside for certified Detroit businesses. I want to join me in giving the council members a clap for that, please. This actually is the first time in the city's history where we've ever had language around ensuring that something get done. So the mayors will change, the CPOs will change, but that's in there forever right now to force administration, I'm a part of that, to really take the time and hold more of these, put the money into it, to mentor, to protege, to get companies certified, and oh, by the way, to have these outreaches. This is real stuff. These will be 5-year contracts, again, approved by City Council, and will be able to be exercised. So you can get a contract, and let's say if it's janitorial services, we'll set aside that contract for 5 years, providing that everything else goes well. Now, if you screw up in the first year, we'll sit down and talk. But essentially, there are 5-year long-term contracts so that you can hire good people that can work with you. We also have a second chance effort at the City of Detroit where you can hire returning citizens. You can hire returning citizens. You can hire returning citizens, okay? Several people asked me outside of here, if the one question I've got so far tonight is, can you do that? Yes, if you have a contract with the city. And I want to make sure I'm clear on that. We have security guard services, professional services. If you know anything about ground maintenance, we have always a lot of parks, recreation centers, and a lot of vacant lots that we have to take care of as well. Now, getting paid, I talked about the supplier portal process earlier, so that's very, very important. We try to pay you faster. Let me go back to one slide. Okay, what does a good bid look like? A good bid is not a big PowerPoint presentation. And I'm going to let Ray in a minute talk about development fund, because Ray and I are working together right now to try to get people in this audience, in addition to what you heard earlier, get signed up so you can get money. So we have a little partnership going between he and I. But you got to make sure your bid is clear, okay? And do not put a 30 and a 40% profit margin in your bid. Do not do that. I see it all the time. And companies come to me and say, boys, I've been bidding on something for the last 5 years, and tell me what I'm doing wrong. You can take a look at it, and the other day, I said, you got about a 43% profit margin on on your contract. He said, yeah, because I heard that the city don't ever pay you on time. So we sat down and worked together on this whole thing, and I told him the next time that you bid, give some thought to that, okay? Give some thought to that. Who in here has a business you get a 48, 50% profit margin on? Anybody in here? Jock, you get that? Okay, he said every once in a while. That's great if you can win bids on that. But most of the time you will not. But don't cut yourself too thin either, so that you're not at least making a profit and being able to pay your people. I'm just trying to emphasize, take some time and look at it. And if you have a question on how to do a bid, we're also working, one of our next classes that we're going to have here with the council members here is we're going to set up a class on bonding, insurance, and writing bids. In addition, you heard Councilman Ayers talk about grant writing. That's good. We're probably going to throw in something perhaps around writing good bids, walking you through how to do that, and give you some templates that you can take away and use, where all you got to do essentially is just fill it in for the most part, so it make your life much easier, okay? And then speak to on your bid basically why you should get the job versus somebody else. But all this stuff will be in your package to look at. So what I want to do right now, I think I'm down to mine. Let me cover this one right quick. We had some banks that had made a lot of commitment to the city, and I just want to just cover those. The treasurer asked me to cover some of the future commitment investment that's going to be going on. JP Morgan Chase has, they're committing $50 million in investment in the city. Chemical and Independence are in the future will invest $150 million in lending and at least bringing some new jobs to the city as well. And then Fifth Third Bank is also working with the city to do some work on the Hart Plaza and have some mortgage loans and a few other things here. The point that I'm making here is there is money. There is money. If you're interested and you want to do something, now is your time more than I've ever seen it to be able to take advantage of it. So look at the bids. If you are not on BidSync tonight, stop by the purchasing desk, get signed up so you can sit at home and have a beer and then look at all the bids you got, okay? There's no excuse. You saw the guy in before me, and I'm going to give it to Ray. If you can go beg for money. So please do that. And with that, let me turn it over to Ray, and then I'll wrap it up.
Getting old, hard time getting up. Thank you very much for doing this. We appreciate it very much. So we see some bids that are the other way that you have to be careful of. We had a contractor come to us that $100,000 bid, and finally, how's that? Who had a $100,000 bid. We all put it together. It's going to cost them $140,000 to do it. So those are the kind of things that we have to be careful for. Detroit Development Fund has been doing small business lending in Detroit since 2002. In general terms, lending to companies that need equipment, need marketing, and not many of the companies in our portfolio are yet bank ready. And they're not because banks, while they want to do some of this, can't. They're highly regulated. They have to watch credit scores very carefully. They have to watch cash flow, and we watch it carefully too, but they're regulated and we have more flexibility than a bank would have. So that helps us as we move forward. So in the last 2 or 3 years, we've developed a product that we're working with. Oh, let me back up for a second. The gentleman who talked about the checklist is really important. That's an important piece because even though we're not a bank, we require a lot of the same paperwork because we have to look at it, we have to show ourselves that it can be paid back, and we also have auditors that we have to answer to. But we look at it differently, and we're more flexible than a bank can be. So we do require a lot of it. Angelia Sharp, our senior lender, is out there. She has a lot of blue folders. These, and they will give you a checklist of our loan application. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a pain in the rear. I mean, it really is. But it's necessary to do, and it takes time. And what we talked about earlier, we heard earlier, is that most of the companies that come to us, even though we're a non-traditional lender, aren't yet quite ready for a loan. They don't have their financials together. They don't have personal financial statements. Some of the startups don't have their projections. So we have the capability, along with the city and others, to help these companies. And we can send them to 5 or 6 organizations that we work with and partner with that can help them with business plans. They can help them with financial statements. They can help them kind of think through their market and their who's their customer and how to do it. And we're able to do that because, and one is TechTown, the other is Grand Innovations, Lifeline, Build is one of our partners, so we have several that can partner and help companies get more ready, or more loan ready, if you will. And that's been really beneficial to us and the companies that come to us because we just don't say no necessarily. We have upon occasion, but we say, we can't do it now, but if you can go away and put some of this information we need together, the financials and all that, we have a lot better chance at looking at your company than we did before. When companies walk in without business plans, not necessarily business plans, that's helpful, but projections, their current financial statements are not as strong or as good as you would like. And so we also have a way to help them with their accounting. It's a agreement we have with various organizations. He had mentioned the Accounting Aid Society, and we have some others that can do that. But that's the important piece. It's a lot of work, but as we talked earlier, listened earlier, it's really important as you go through this process. The thing that we've been doing in the last 2 or 3 years that has been really encouraging in working with Boise is that we developed a contractor job-specific line of credit. Many contractors who come to us aren't big enough to get a general line. They don't have enough revenue, they don't have enough cash flow to do that. But they walk into the city and they get a contract to do something for $100,000. Now, if we know they can do the job and we know that they have the lists together, then we could provide them with a line of credit for that job specific so that they can hire people, buy materials, and then when the city pays them, they can pay off the line of credit, and then they can go back and try to get another contract. The difference between doing it now and what we did before is exactly what Boise said. Years ago when we did this, the city was taking a little longer than 30 days to pay, and quite a bit longer actually in some cases. So it was hard for us to get our line of credit down and paid down, and the contractors are having just a heck of a time getting their money in. That's changed. And that helps us because as we do job-specific lines of credit, we know that within 30 days, sometimes 35, that invoice is going to be paid down, and then the company can pay down their line of credit and then borrow it back up again as they need it. So that's been very, very helpful to us. And we're continue to develop that program. As with every program, we're not exactly 100% there, but we're getting closer to it. And we have all sorts of contractors. Let me give you an example. You may know Adrian Bennett, Minkari Plumbing. Adrian came to us 2.5 years ago. She had a contract. She was doing, I don't know, $300,000 or $400,000 in sales, had a contract to work on a program with the city. And so we helped her with that. And then she grew, and all of a sudden she got a huge contract to do all of the plumbing at the new hockey arena. It was like $800,000, $900,000, and there was no way she could do it because she didn't have enough revenue. So we were able to, because we knew who was paying her and when they would pay, provide her a line of credit to help hire people, buy the material, and when she paid that off, then, or when she got paid off, she paid that line of credit down. Since then, she's gone on to do a lot of work for Wayne State, and if I'm not mistaken, she has the plumbing contract now for the new building that Ford is doing, the train station. So that's the type of thing that can happen. It doesn't happen to everybody, and sometimes it's just small growth. But if it's small growth and you can make money, it doesn't have to be $2 million. You know, if you can get to small growth. So Adrian's a good example, and we have several more like that. We have some companies that are struggling a bit, and they're struggling because they haven't generated the revenue they thought they would. So in that case, we do have some flexibility in how we structure loans. If we see a company that's coming to us and they're honest with us, and 6 months after they get going, their revenue stream just didn't pick up the way they wanted, we can send some help in to help them with marketing, and we can take a look at their cash flow and try to adjust it so that it really fits the growth that they're going to have. There's no sense charging a company $400 a month when they can afford $200, and that's all. I mean, that does nobody any good. Our rates are exactly what he said. We're between 7 and 7.5, and sometimes 9, but most often it averages 7.5. Their term loans and the contractor lines of credit that we've been working with are about 7.5% also. We can do loans from $50,000 to $250,000 through our Detroit Development Fund loan fund, and we can loans between $5,000 and $50,000 with our new fund run by DDF, but under the Detroit Community Loan Fund. And sometimes when a small company or contractor comes to us, they only need $10,000 or $15,000 to get their contractor get something working. And then when they get that done, they come back and we try. For us, it's a ladder. We can start here with a company, and as they progress and as they make more revenue and as they sell, they'll move up maybe down from a $5,000 to a $50,000 loan up to a $100,000 loan or $75,000. And at some point in the future, if they get to the point where they're bankable, we have a lot of friends in the banking industry who support us, and so that's what we try to do. So and I said earlier, banks can't do what we do. They're just highly regulated. But it's not that they don't want to do it. They just can't. So what they do in many cases is not just Detroit Development Fund, it's Invest Detroit and others. They'll provide different types of low-cost loans or grants to organizations like ours, and so that we can then go out and do the work and have more flexibility than they have at all. I'll give you an example of a new fund that not new, it's 2.5 years old now. J.P. Kellogg Foundation came to us about 3.5 years ago with a study that says everything that we all know because we work here and we live here. Access to capital for entrepreneurs of color is much more difficult than if you're not. Sounds simple, but they did tons of research and really came up with a program. So with that, we went to J.P. Morgan Chase, and they also understood that need. So they provided us with additional capital. We started out with a $4.5 million lending fund, and additional capital to help with companies' technical assistance, business technical assistance. We ran out of money in end of 17 and raised more capital. As of today, the Entrepreneur of Color Fund has closed 89 loans to 69 Detroit companies for $7.5 million. And of those companies, 20% are startups, 54% are women-owned companies, minority women entrepreneurs of color, and that's what we're trying to continue to grow. And with the help from the city and this contracting program we're putting together, we think that we can have another impact. And our companies have created, at the moment, the other key for us is creating jobs for Detroit residents. That's critical. That's a mission that we have. And all of our companies have worked towards that, and I think they've created about 700 jobs now for Detroit residents. And then if you take another company that we finance called Detroit Training Company sitting there, they must train 500 people in the construction trades, diesel mechanics, and all of that a year, Detroit residents that they then place in their jobs. So that's what it's about. We're trying to do the same things you are. It's not easy. We don't give money away. If we had millions of dollars, we could, but we do require that you come in with a plan, you come in with the right checklist, and we'll seriously look at it. And if it's not something we can do, we'll say, well, why don't you go to this organization or this person? Let them help you with that and come back. So that's the Detroit Development Fund, and we're happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks. That concludes the procurement piece.
I had a
Hold
question.
on.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna do this thing in order. Because we are at the, what time are we at? 7:17, so we'll still do few question and answer on this end. And just remember, again, this is a fluid process, so if you have not had a chance to go across the hall and pick up some of those documents we talked about, we want to make sure that you have time to go over there as well. Also, we want to acknowledge State Rep LaTanya Garrett, who was here, and also the District 3 Councilman, Scott Benson, who is also here. He was out in the hallway.
We're going to take the opportunity now to just let you know, if you just came in, if you have a question, please go to the mic. As our media person is here, I'm taping this so that we can televise it for those who are not able to make it. So if you have a question, please go to the mic to ask your question. And again, thank everyone for being here. And we will start with the questions.
Thank you. My name is Larry Teamer. I own a security company in the city of Detroit for 27 years. The last couple of years, I find it very difficult to get a contract in the city of Detroit, and I'm wondering why. We're doing fine for 25 years, but we can't now. One of the main things is that if you owe taxes to the city, you can't even bid on a contract. So that just cuts me out, and I owe taxes only because the city of Detroit contract. I had a contract for 3 years with the Detroit Public Schools. When the emergency manager came in, they owed us $306,000, didn't pay us for 2 years, and which caused us to get behind in taxes. Now I can't even bid on a contract, and we're having problems, and I was wondering why. And Mr. Waters, I met you. I am a graduate of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses, the very first cohort in the city of Detroit, the state of Michigan. And you told me then, right after the class, to come see you, which I did. But as soon as I told you I owed taxes, you said, bye. And that was it. And I'm stuck in the same position for years.
Well, let's get you unstuck.
Right.
Let's go through this.
Okay.
You can bid on contracts whether you got a tax problem or not. You can bid. So let's clear that up. So on BidSync, there's no restriction to that. Before I submit a contract to council to give you a purchase order so you can go do the business, that's when you must have your tax issues resolved. Now, we do have now things called payment plan, tax payment plans that we can sit down and talk to you about. But if you're a security company, Sandra, raise your hand. I'd like for you to see this young lady right after this, and I'd like to be able to talk to you personally. But not sure what happened years ago. Can't answer it, but what's your company name?
Pyrotech Security System.
Okay.
We're on Livernois, just south of 8 Mile.
Okay, well then we've found a new security company that's in Detroit tonight. But I'm just not familiar with it. I've been on this job for 7 years and I haven't heard it, but let's get you situated. So keep bidding, regardless of whether you have a tax problem. It's when you get to the contract stage is where you got to resolve that, okay?
Well, my thought on that was, I'm trying to get a job here to pay off my taxes and can't get a job. So, how does that work?
Well, we've got to look at what you owe and everything else and see if there's going to be some tax payment plans or something we can work out or not. I'm not totally sure until we look at your specific case, but I don't want to discourage you from bidding. So let's keep bidding.
Well,
and let's
it
deal
is
with the issue.
discouraging, but I'll say this, and I'll give up the mic. When the city of Detroit went bankrupt, You know, they came after me. They sued us. I had to get 3 lawyers for a preference, they called it. They said they had paid me, my company, $135,000 90 days before they went bankrupt, so now I owe them that $135,000. Now, we did the work. I had guards out there. I paid them, took my little tiny profit, and then they say, now you owe us for doing the work that I did. I couldn't believe it. So, you know, that's what I'm getting from the city now. And like I say, I've been here all my life. I'm a retired Detroit police lieutenant. I opened my business 27 years ago after I retired, and now I'm in big trouble because of what the city is doing here.
Well, let's turn that around. I don't like you saying what the city is doing, so I take that as a challenge.
Right,
I can't address the emergency manager issues back then,
right.
But let's see what we can look at relative to your specific situation. And I'll tell you honestly where you are, okay?
All right, thank you. I
appreciate
the
okay.
opportunity.
Yep.
Next question. Thank you. My name's Ty Grady. I just moved to the city of Detroit from Philadelphia. My wife grew up here, and I've been investing in properties in Detroit for about 11 years. And my question is there any grants or capital investment money available? Because, you know, we spoke about loans here, and I've worked in banking, worked in finance, worked in mortgages, and sometimes when you take loans out, you know, when you don't have that financial literacy portion in your life, that leveraging can get a little risky and get people in trouble. And, you know, working in those industries, I know that, you know, if we're not building credit scores, communities of high 600, 700 credit scores, then the banks are going to totally evade, you know, our communities, right? So that's my question. Are there any monies available, grants? Because I buy in cash, I fix my money, you know, my home's up in cash, but, you know, to accelerate the process, because I truly believe in bringing this community back, because my wife grew up here, to help this community sustain and be viable, you know, going towards the future. That's what I came here for.
And I think the grant part is difficult at the moment. There are some, I'll give you my card, and then afterwards you can give me an email and we'll see what we can find out. We do some rehab work with single-family homes where people, and we only work with local developers, we never work with out-of-state developers, who are buying 1 or 2 homes. And they're buying it, they're rehabbing it, bringing it back to the market and selling it. The appraisal issue is one here in town that's an issue, you know, to get the right appraisal. But we start at small, we do 1 or 2 or 3, and then as they grow, we've done more of those. But the grant thing, the grants that I'm familiar with are more geared towards down payment assistance for home buyers. If they're a $50,000 home, it appraises for 40. There are some organizations that can provide that down payment grant so they can get into the house with a mortgage. But I'm more than happy to explore it and see what we can find. Without experience, there are many people in Detroit who try to do that, but you don't have the right experience with rehabbing and buying and doing that. It becomes some difficulty for some people, but I'd be happy to look for you.
Fine.
Okay.
Because I've rehabbed homes here before and purchased, like I said, in cash.
Yeah.
So, you have a card on you? And
I do.
I'll give mine too. No, I'm an LLC, ma'am. You know, been an LLC for numerous years. Been investing in properties for over 15 years.
The reason I ask is, again, this is part 1 of a series. So part 2 is, part 2 is the May 9th grant writing portion. So, you know, for everybody, just make sure that if that's something you're interested in, grab a flyer from outside, because we would love to see you all back while we all learn together about the right way to approach grant writing. So it may be something you may want to come back for our event May 9th. But again, flyers are in the front.
Okay, thank you.
And let me also say, as one who have served for a little while in Congress, there's a lot of federal dollars that are available. There may not be city dollars available, but there are a lot of federal dollars that are available that many people don't even know that are available to people. And so one of the things you should know is how to write a grant so that you can check for federal dollars and be able to apply. And then once the money goes to the state and your contact with whomever, be it, and I see State Representative LaTanya Garrett in here, but be whomever, be it your state rep, your city council members, or whatever elected official you know, can contact the state and let them know that you have been applying for grants. And if the money went to the state, then that money can be somehow reverted back to you, or you might get it yourself, but you might need to also look at applying as a nonprofit some type of way, or hooking up with someone who has a nonprofit and doing a joint venture.
Okay, thank you.
And just to acknowledge again, LaTanya Garrett, State Representative.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Monique Thomas. I have a comment and a couple questions. So first I wanted to, it wasn't until last year at the Northwest Activity Center that you guys, yourself, Boise, and Brenda Jones and City Council held this seminar, and it was inspired to start my own business as a minority business owner. The challenge was back then, you guys, I love charts, right? I have an engineering background, and so the challenge back then was 11% of there was a gap of women minority suppliers that you wanted more women to be able to get that money and close the gap on that huge number of 11%, right? And so the challenge was being certified, and it's still an issue, right? So I have not gotten WBE certified because it's still a gap in terms of how do I get that, because that's a huge gap in order to even get a contract. So I did everything you guys said. I appreciate what you guys are doing. I did everything you said. I went to Big Sink that night, right? I talked to Sandra, called her on the phone, and the gap is still women we don't know how the whole process in becoming certified as a minority business owner so we can bid on those jobs and those contracts. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the bid sync. Once you do get into bid sync, to go to the next level, I put my NACIS codes in. So my business is Lean Consultant. I'm an expert on saving companies money. Well, you start putting those codes in, right? You gotta, in order to see the contracts, I gotta pay for the next level to get those, like $99 or another fee or something. So what I need is in that $99 per month or some fees that I have to pay in order to even get to bid on the contracts. So my question is, I hear that you say it's free. It is. Mm-hmm. But in order to get what I need and get those contracts to that level in the city of Detroit, mm-hmm. I need to pay that $99. I want to say it's $99 a month. I want to say that. So is that just standard? That's the way it is? You know, am I missing something?
Yeah, let me, good question, very good question. Let me hit the
and
first
I have
one.
one more, and then that's it.
Okay.
Okay.
The challenge to be certified as WBE, we will tell you how to do that. And
Okay.
Charity's group is not here, but that's an easy one. We can tell you how to walk through that process, okay?
Okay.
So see me after this or Sandra there. We can do that. You're putting the NACIS code in, which are federal and state codes. Mm-hmm. We want you to use NIGP codes. Our system is set up on NIGP. There is an NIGP code and there's a NACIS code. So go away from the NACIS code because you will have to pay. Okay. That's a federal set of codes for every core competency. If you're construction, there's a code, as you know. If you're doing janitorial services, there's a code, etc. Okay. But I want you to use the NIGP code. Guarantee you will not have to pay anything.
I wish I would have asked that question last year because I get bid sync every day.
Yep.
I'm like, why I keep getting this? I can't bid on them.
When you register, and we can show that to you, when you register in the system, it's going to ask you for the NIGP code, the National Industry Group Procurement Code. That is for local municipalities, not for federal government, which use the NACIS code. Okay?
Thank you for that.
So do that. Get away from that $99.
Absolutely.
And let's get down to local government.
Absolutely.
And municipality, okay?
Last question. Yes. Yeah.
if you have a question or you have a problem, don't wait until we have it again. Call us. If we don't have that answer, Boise Jackson, I know how to worry him to death, along with everybody else who have presented that work for the city. We know these two council members know how to call. This is what we do. We do the small business empowerment fair. We try to help small businesses and businesses in the city of Detroit. And so if you have a question or if you have a concern or if you have a problem, email us or call us. And I know you said you emailed me, and I'm going through my emails looking for it now, but we try to assist. That's why we're doing this, because we want to see you get in business. And so whatever it takes for us to help you, that's what we do to try to make sure that you stay in Detroit and that you open up a business in Detroit. And so that's one of the reasons why we're working hard with Boise Jackson. I'm working very hard to make sure we protect Detroiters when it comes to a certain percentage of contracts that we know Detroiters can do.
Absolutely.
That are going other places. So make sure everybody, don't wait until you see us again or catch us in the grocery store. Call us or email us or go to the web page. Even if you want to make a comment, you can go up on our web page and there is a comment section that you can make a comment. Even if you can't come to a meeting and you want to comment for a meeting, you can do that on the web page. We are trying to come into the century that we're in now. I needed some help, and I got young people helping me to help assist everybody anywhere that wants to stay in the city of Detroit and do business in the city of Detroit. We welcome you, and we want you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Just want to elaborate on her. She was talking about the codes that identify your business. When you get certified or apply in the city of Detroit, that same code you can use for Ann Arbor, you can use for Columbus, Ohio, you can use California. As long as a local municipality, that code goes with you every place, unless you change it, okay?
Yeah, and I just want to mention that Boise was right. Charity, who runs the office, it's a new office now, Office of Inclusion, Empowerment, and Civil Rights, her job and their department's job is to help companies become certified. And they have been incredibly helpful working with companies, even one-on-one, to try to move them up that ladder to certification. And I just wanted to mention that because I've watched in the last couple of months since Charity's taken that over, and it's really started to really get some legs and blossom.
I'll get that name and I got to write it down.
Okay.
I don't remember everything.
I probably won't remember it in a second, but I know it now.
Okay.
Yep, and if you stop by the procurement desk, we have that certification.
Okay.
In the package, the blue book that we're giving to you free, so make sure everybody understands, it's free. When you get the book, and Sandra will get you up the numbers in there as well, okay?
All right. Last question. How do we get contracts for subcontractors?
Subcontracting, we ask all the company to disclose their subcontracting, but we don't deal with that relationship.
Okay.
We let the prime choose their own subcontractors.
All right, good. Thank you. I
But we
appreciate
do encourage it, as they said earlier, to collaborate company to company and, get a joint venture or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Diane Johnson, and I'm the owner of Diane Johnson Agency, which is an accounting and financial services company. And I just have two quick questions. The first one is that I was wondering if there is some sort of booklet or some sort of website or somewhere where you can actually go and find available services that are Black-owned or that are within the city so that individuals can network. Because, for example, when we were looking for a sign company to put our sign up, we didn't know where really to go, and we ended up going maybe out of the city, but we would have preferred to get that, to actually work out a deal with someone in the city and get the sign. And then the other thing is, so if there's like some kind of maybe workshop, or not just workshop, but a networking conference where individuals can come and somewhat network on what available things that they have to provide. Like, say for instance, if you need a cleaning service for your company, who can you go, where can you go to find Black-owned businesses in the city? Because obviously you want to support individuals within your city. The second thing is that there has been a great deal of development for the tiny homes, in addition to other kind of developmental properties in the city of Detroit, and I have no idea where to go to like apply for a tiny home, or where to apply for to become eligible for the newer, like the brand new homes that are being built. Some were like up near, I would say off of Jefferson, and there's others in different communities that are being constructed as we speak. And so I don't know if there's like somewhere where you can go and find out where you can actually yourself apply for these brand new developments, and that's my question, or questions.
Two good questions. Let me, the CREO, the Civil Rights, Inclusion, and Opportunity, keeps a list of all of the MBEs and WBE companies we have in the city. That's probably about the most complete database we have. The Michigan Minority Supply Development Council that's in the city also has their own database that probably also can help you. We can refer you to that one as well. So Sandra, let's give our card, and we can help you in trying to identify those, because we do it by certification, and it'll get you there to MBEs, okay?
Okay.
And DBEs as well as WBEs. Applying for a home in the different communities, that might be more HRD, housing revitalization. So can we get your information? We may have to get someone that's not here tonight. Jasmine? Yeah, May can get you, yeah, she may can help you with that, okay?
Right, thank you.
Thank you. And Sandra, we get her stuff, okay?
Well, good evening.
Thank you, good evening.
And thank you for having us. Honored to be here. My name is Conrad Caldwell. I'm the founder and co-owner of King Jewel Publishing. I recently released from prison and started my business while incarcerated. And I noticed a lot of talent while incarcerated. So when I got out, I wanted to be able to try to help give back to the talent that I see, especially in Detroit.
Wow.
So what I began to do was publish authors, young singers, musicians, poets, people who really don't have the opportunity to showcase their gifts. So I'm wondering, is there anything in the city right now to partner with the art within our young people? Because I work with a lot of young at-risk youth right now.
Excuse me.
Thank you, and thank you for what you're doing. So there's two parts to that. I started the Returning Citizens Task Force for the city.
Heard of it.
And so we would love to make sure that you are at the table with us, because we have a lot of folks that come through that think, oh, well, I had this record, I had this incident, it's gonna keep me down. And you're a prime example of it doesn't have to, right?
Well, I definitely wrote when y'all first started.
Yeah.
Didn't get a response, but I wrote.
Oh, wait, you wrote me?
Yes, I did. I actually was referred by my mentor to contact you. And I also work with Judge Morrow, worked with him for years.
All right,
and,
your letter might be on my desk now. Hold on, I'm just being honest. I try to handwrite everybody back. But outside of that, when you start talking about working with the creatives, yes. So this administration has poured a lot into making sure that we have, obviously, our entertainment commission, but just a culture of the arts. And so one of the young men is Adrian Tonan. And we'll make sure to get your information, Jerome, if you can give it to this young man, because I want to connect you two. And I think this would be a good look all the way around.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay. Good evening. I just have a real quick question. Thank you for this opportunity. You mentioned briefly earlier in the presentation about the different certifications, Detroit Business Certification, Minority Certification, and Detroit Startup. What is the basic requirements for that? And if you, for example, are part of a cleaning franchise, does that disqualify you as a supplier or anything like that? If you can elaborate more about that.
No, good question. No, it does not disqualify you for any of that. If you're a small business, if it's 26 million and under, And you can be a Detroit-based business. It means you got a company that's based here in the city of Detroit that you're working out of, you're performing the contract out of that's based. Headquarters means if you got a company here, your CEOs, your COOs, all of your chief executive officers are working out of that has a functional facility here that you're working out of. It's where all your equipment are. And I think a resident business means that you have filled out the paperwork to validate and verify that you're hiring 51% Detroit residents. So they could be a combination of returning citizens and non-returning citizens, as long as it's 51%. Okay, appreciate all of your time tonight, and I'll turn it back over to the two council members.
Thank you all for that presentation, and thank you all for your questions. Again, I want to just take the opportunity to thank you all for being here. This is something that Councilmember Ayers and myself decided to do 2 years ago, and we, noticed that there was an opportunity for many people who wanted to be in business in the city of Detroit to hear from just the people who do the jobs in the city of Detroit. We knew that there was an opportunity for those who wanted contracts in the city of Detroit but was having a problem getting contracts in the city of Detroit. And so we wanted to try to streamline the problems that you were having and bring all of those people to you and put it all up under one heading, one roof. And so we have the vendors that are across the hall to give you the information that you need. Again, we asked you not to wait until we have something like this. If you have a question, if you have a suggestion, if you have a comment, please contact us so that we can try to assist you. We are working extremely hard. And you heard Mr. Jackson say this is the first time with any council that we have worked hard to put ordinances, laws on the books to make sure, to ensure that Detroiters get their fair share. As you see so many people that are coming into the city, but there's an opportunity for Detroiters to get their fair share as well. Unfortunately, we do have the problem with the taxes, but we want to see how we can work through and work with those that owe taxes as well so that they can get their fair share as well. Again, I just want to take the opportunity to thank you, thank my colleague, Councilmember Ayers, who's partnering. We're partnering together and putting on different events throughout the city. Thank all of the participants. Thank the media crew, thank our staffs, because it is just so much we could not get done without our staffs who don't always get the recognition and the credit that they deserve. So we thank our staffs who have helped us put this on. And most of all, we thank you, because if you were not here, we would be here talking to an empty room, talking to ourselves, and not being able to do the job that we want to do, that we ran to do, to get the seat, to be able to assist the citizens in the city of Detroit, which is so very important to both of us. So again, thank you all for your participation. We look forward to continuing to partner with every citizen, every person who inspired to want to be in business in the city of Detroit, every resident, to do whatever we can do to keep you in the city, to keep you with money in the city, and to make you want to tell other people, come to the city of Detroit. Again, thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to my partner, Janeé Ayers.
So I'll end it the way I started it, and some of you were in here when I started. And some of you were not. But at the end of the day, it's all about making sure that we have access to opportunity and we have access to information, because that's been the one thing that hinders communities, and especially our community and Detroit. If you know something, you keeping it to yourself, that's fruitless. We're not pouring back into our communities as we're supposed to. And so I'm gonna give you all a charge as you leave here. If you know somebody else that should have been here that didn't make it tonight, share the information with them. But then you also tell them they need to get up and come for part 2 for the grant writing portion on their own. That is gonna be May 9th from 5 to 8 at 600 West Lafayette. And again, the flyers are out on the table, but I'm very thankful for each of you being here.
And God bless you all, and again, thank you, and this meeting is adjourned.